It would be easy to make a theory guessing that all of M. Night Shyamalan... Yeah, dyslexia is not going to let me say that last name correctly, and I apologize for that. But it would be easy to guess that all of his movies were connected, especially since Split offered us a cameo of David, the protagonist from Unbreakable. You could even make the case that Shyamalan's cameos were all the same character, bouncing around to different jobs, like Old Gil from The Simpsons. But that would be too easy of a theory, so we're not going to do that today. Could you imagine, though? Anyways, after multiple requests to tackle Split, I found it to be a really hard movie to crack, and the traumatized girl he kidnapped raised more questions in my mind than the Horde himself. And I am going to mostly call him the Horde, because I have no idea how to accurately identify this character when he doesn't show a dominant personality. But that ending scene in Split really stuck with me hardcore. We saw Bruce Willis sitting in a coffee shop mentioning Mr. Glass. For those youngsters among us who haven't seen Unbreakable... Stop it, Kimmy Schmidt! You've ruined the title of this movie with your catchy opening credits. Ahem. Unbreakable is a movie where Bruce Willis plays David Dunn, a man who slowly figures out that he has super strength, never gets sick, and has a power to sense what bad deeds people have done. And that movie is an extreme parallel to Split, right down to both the Beast and David Dunn realizing their full potential in a train station. Unbreakable is a little slow-paced, but it is a cinematography masterpiece and completely worth the watch. Now, I'm expecting / demanding a sequel to Split that ties in David Dunn, the man who can read minds versus the man with 24 personalities, one of which is totally a supervillain. Now, if that concept isn't awesome enough to give you goosebumps, consider that we also have the same two characters mashing up as the man who believes that suffering equals purity versus the man who can't get hurt. I have so many chills for how insanely philosophical, psychological, and action-packed this pairing could get. And I will be furious if that movie doesn't become a reality. Alright, I can gush and show you all the parallels I found between Split and Unbreakable, but I am actually doing a theory today. And for that theory, I would like to draw your attention to Unbreakable. When David Dunn finally decides to take action to be a hero, he finds a maintenance man whose memory shows him breaking into someone's house in a very creepy, confrontational way. When David investigates, he finds that the man of the house was murdered, and creepo maintenance man has tied up 2 kids, a presumed brother and sister, in a closet and is keeping the wife tied up in her room. Well, David comes in and frees the children, fights the maintenance man, and David almost loses that fight via drowning, but the kids save him, which allows David to kill the villain and uncuff the mother. Unfortunately, Mama has already passed on, but the next thing we know, the newspapers are hailing a mystery hero who saved the children. I know you think I just wasted your time talking about Unbreakable's story arc, but, as a mom of 3 myself, I could not stop thinking about how that event was going to affect those kids for the rest of their lives. And then it all clicked together. The young boy became the Horde. Stop typing hate messages. Give me a chance. We know that when the Horde was young, he has memories as Kevin where his mother is very abusive towards him, and the personalities and the therapist believe that an inability to cope with that abuse led to the dissociative identity disorder, DID. But what bothered me is that Kevin's mother isn't part of his therapy sessions or his life. Maybe their relationship is just too toxic for the Horde to handle, but you would think that working with a professional therapist to hash things out with his mother would help heal at least a few wounds inside of Kevin. Perhaps the mother wasn't willing to participate. She could have been so hate-filled and angry that she wrote Kevin out of her life for good. Or maybe she's just not living any longer. I think the real significance of teasing David Dunn in Split is to reveal a deeper connection later. Now, originally, the Horde was supposed to be the person that David Dunn fights in Unbreakable, not the orange suit maintenance man, but that part of the script was thrown out, so it's not really canon now. So now I say that the woman who David Dunn failed to save was Kevin's mother. Kevin was one of the kids tied up in the closet that David rescued, and the trauma of being held hostage in his own home and watching his parents die is really what turned Kevin into the Horde. Split flat out tells us that many of the personalities work to protect Kevin from his past. And hey, not to downplay an abusive mother, but being yelled at and possibly slapped around with a coat hanger seems a little light to create 23 other personalities. So what if Mom was just part of the problem? She's bad memories that the rest of the Horde lets Kevin remember because the real issues are so horrific none of them can stand to relive it. Being tied up for days, maybe even weeks, while your mother is tortured in the next room and your father is dead in the basement seems far more likely to break someone down. And don't forget, the personality of Jade says that Kevin can't handle reality. So why wouldn't the Horde hide the truth from Kevin to protect themselves from Kevin committing suicide? Kevin's on edge. The rest of the personalities don't want to push him. And just because the mother was murdered in Unbreakable doesn't mean that she was a saint while she was alive. She could have easily been a super abusive person, and she could have even had a secret lover that one day showed up at her house and just took over. I mean, why would the guy in orange just randomly pick that house, that location? He wouldn't know if they had guns or anything else inside, unless he already had a connection to the family, and the father clearly didn't know who he was when he came to the door, so that makes my suspicions turn towards Mom, a woman who was stuck in a miserable marriage and hated her life and took it out on her son Kevin. But what about the sister? Well, I don't think she came into the movie Split because she has probably grown up and lives her life while her brother lives his. I have relatives with mental disorders and they can be very draining to interact with on a regular basis, so those siblings having a minimal relationship isn't out of the question, especially if the sister has a family of her own to raise now, which realistically she would be raising away from any big cities since her parents died in Philadelphia. What I did find interesting though is that when the name Kevin Wendell Crumb was uttered and we supposedly got the original personality of Kevin, he asks if it's still September 18th, 2014. I looked it up and nothing of any real significance happened around Philadelphia that day, but the day had to be important enough for Kevin to track, as if there was something important for him to do that day. So I speculate that this was the last time he went to see his sister. Kevin mentions that the last thing he recalls from that date was being on a bus, which could have been a bus going to or from his sister's location. And if that bus passed by Kevin's childhood home and he started getting a flash of a memory that he wasn't supposed to remember, one of his other personalities would have quickly snatched the spotlight to prevent Kevin from fully remembering or reliving his boyhood trauma. But ultimately, Mr. Glass put David Dunn on a journey to become a superhuman, and David unwittingly did the same to Kevin Wendell Crumb. Supervillains creating superheroes creating supervillains. And think of how fantastic the ending to that mashup movie could be. David touches the Horde's hand when the Kevin personality is in charge, and the big surprise ending is that Kevin was the little boy tied up in the closet. Boom. Connection made, mind blown. Or at least my mind is totally blown. To do anything less is a complete waste of all this buildup. Yeah, I might be overthinking it, but that's literally my job. Well, that's all I have for now, but this video's not quite over yet. I get a lot of comments that say, do a theory on this topic, but I've already done those theories. So please consider going to my main channel page and clicking on the video tab so that way you can see everything I've done. You will probably find a lot of things you like that you never even knew that I posted. I want to let you know that I also have two other channels, Say Halo Goodbye Gaming and the Fanily Family Vlogs. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed enough to hit subscribe and share. I can use all the help I can get to let other people know that this channel exists. And if you made it this far, leave me a comment that says something like, hey, I made it to the end, and then let me know what kind of videos you want to see in the future. I can't make any promises, but the more people that request something, the more I can look into it. Okay, well, I love you. I'll see you in the next video.